Bonjour.
Kate, how are you?
Kate, first one.
Michael, Cindy.
Voilà.
Michael gave us a wave. Caroline. Matteo is here bright and early.
Matteo! Bonjour! Okay, can I take the mask off? Here we are. So, Bonjour, bonjour, bonjour. Hello, everybody.
That's champagne in his coffee cup, by the way.
Yeah, I'm supposed to follow.
Oh, and Diana is here. And Diana, we'll let you in just a moment. Valerie.
So,
Alexandra, good to see you as always. Glamorosi. Oh, your volume's still up a little bit. And of course, Pierre just joined us. The Sketching Crab, that's a good name.
Sketching crab. Holy crab. Oh, sorry. Bro, how am I doing?
Deb, I got your box back, so we'll figure out how we're going to work that out.
So how do you want with? Is it Professor Pierre or Wild Pierre today? We'll go off. We'll go naked. No glasses. All right. You tell me when.
Anytime is good.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Bonjour! This is Pierre from Savoir-Faire, and here we are, Friday, the weekly party. So again, thank you all for coming. Today, this is our cherished Friday. I know I hear a few of you really looking forward. I hear regularly, oh my God, I can't wait for Friday. You know, it's kind of the last day of the week, and it's kind of a weekly reunion. So thank you all for coming, and some new ones, and everybody, the new, the old, you know, thank you so much. So, just a couple of minutes. A reminder, we started this live in March. Lockdown, mid-March. What do? We all locked inside. Everybody, we had to let go all our employees at Savoir-Faire. We didn't know what to do. Maureen and I decided to come back to the office, to our building, to make sure it was okay, it was legal to check out your property. And then, long story short, we decided that art was essential. Art supplies, we need to supply art supplies to people in need of supplies, what we believe is essential. So we stayed open, the two of us, and then little by little it came back. And I'm so happy, grateful for that, because art is good for you and art is good for the world. And during those 9 months, there is millions, thousands, hundreds of testimonial about how art has been a savior. Any kind of art, but you know, we see it, particularly painting, drawing. It's just incredible, all the story I hear about how the uplifting of art, the therapeutic of art, the important for education, you know, and we've been, as you all know, been extremely generous to give a lot of art supplies to people in need, to underserviced community, and I keep on receiving thank you note, and it's wonderful. So please, most of you are in the arts, artists, and so please share the love of art, and it's good for us. So I remind you, the last 9 months, you know, between the COVID, all the injustice, unrest, the fires, the hurricane, the flooding, now the elections, it's been a rough 9 months. But through the arts, here we are, having fun, being friends, having great community. So anyway, today, very special. Diana, I'm not sure how to pronounce properly. I think she's here already, and a wonderful lady that's local, you know, from Northern California also, and does amazing work. So please make sure you check her out, her social and all that. It's quite remarkable what she does. So anyway, welcome.
Hi. How are you?
I'm fine. Bonjour. So, how are you and where are you? Tell us, people like to know because with all this virtual world. So, tell us where you are. I think you're not so far from me.
No, yeah, we're North Bay, so we're up in Petaluma and finally seeing rain for the first time in months. So little tiny bit, little tiny bit.
Okay. So, thank you for coming today. And I think the last time we saw each other, I believe, was at DesignerCon last year. And I remember we were celebrating something, the end or the beginning. And I remember having a bottle of wine in the booth or something. So sharing a glass of wine. And that, when I look back at DesignerCon this morning, I was looking back and the crowd, do you remember the thousands of people at, close together, going wild with all this painting, design, demos. Isn't it a different world today?
I was emailing with Andrew saying when I think back on when we were together, I think I took the glass of wine from your hand and just drank it, first of all. Like I just drank your actual glass and there were hordes of people, all of us together. What a beautiful time. I can't wait till we can be that careless again. It'll be so great.
Imagine these days to take the glass of an acquaintance and drinking out of his or her glass. Imagine this. It sounds like a different era altogether.
Yeah, no, it was hilarious that that is what happened, but there we go. Yeah, we were having a great time. Yeah. Got some quality IHOP time with Andrew. It was really fun. Yeah.
All right. And Andrew, by the way, is here. He's hiding behind his phone. So here you can see.
I hear him. Yeah. Oh, hi, Andrew. Yeah.
Hello. I suggested to Andrew that maybe he could do the live today because you guys know each other a little more than I know you yet. But he said, no. We want you there. So, but he's here. We are together. But I'm the only one you can see. So, Diana, tell us a little bit. First of all, your name. I didn't never pay attention. It sounds a little French. Do you have any French in your...
I never did like ancestry or any of that, but also my ancestors made up the last name Corvelle when we got to America. So my last name would have been Finucci. So yeah, no, super Italian and German, but not French that I know of.
Okay, but okay.
So,
It's Guidetti, so it's okay.
I know you got excited, but no, probably not. I mean,
it's all right. No worries. It was just, I was worried. I never asked you. So anyway, let's go back. Let's go to what people hear. Those are small talks, but people can't wait to hear about your stories, about what you do, what you love, and what it is. So first of all, first question that I have for you is what brought you to the arts? Because it's remarkable, by the way. We'll get to that, but your talent and your conceptual ideas, and it's fantastic. But let's start from the beginning. What took you? How did you arrive at that level?
well, I mean, I feel like so many people grew up drawing and painting, and I was, one of the artists who always did. But my grandma was an artist and she taught art. And so I always had access to materials and a studio and pointers. So I just always have. But so she did a lot of oil painting and pastels and watercolor. And so I would watch her do those things. I never really cottoned on to oil paint. So many brilliant painters do it, but not me. And so yeah, I just always liked it. And she would make these things that she called them garden guests, and they were basically wood panels that were shaped like people or animals or mythical creatures. And so whenever we would go to her house, there'd be like a carousel horse and a fairy and a mermaid and, a lute player, like just Alice in Wonderland. It would be this wild place of creativity. And I felt really lucky that I got to have, like, that my family knew that being an artist was a viable career path and never discouraged me. And that, was really good. Yeah.
So how did you go from here being immersed in art, inspired by art, to becoming to be a professional artist, painter, teacher, influencers, all those great things. There's what happened between when you were a little girl and with your grandmother to now being a star?
Being a star. Love you, Pierre. I went to college and I knew I wanted to go to art school, so I went to RISD. Apparently, there's a story of me asking my grandma which is the best art school in the country, and she says Rhode Island School of Design. And I was like, well, that's where I'm going to go. I was like 7. No, I was like the hubris, but still. So but that's where I got in my head I want to go, and so yeah, I went there, and I didn't really get exactly the education. I see a fellow Rinsey. I didn't really get the education I wanted. I majored in illustration because that's where all the people who loved drawing went and who were really good at observational drawing and painting. But I also had a lot of teachers who, just by the luck of the draw, didn't love figurative work, and I did. So yeah, Brown U. And so like I went back to grad school after being an art model for a number of years and just realizing, you know, hey, I could not only like was I, you know, getting free extra classes by being a model, but I realized I could do this work, right? And I was like, I need the piece of paper that says I can do it. And if I'm going to go back and do another, you know, couple of years of school, then I better find some place that really prioritizes the things that I had originally wanted RISD to give me. And so that's what landed me. I know. I mean, it's so good and was such a beautiful experience for so many, but it just wasn't my beautiful experience. And so yeah, so when I went back to school, it was for New York Academy of Art in New York. You know, I'm a New York girl, even though we live here now. And that was heaven. That was absolutely heaven. And I learned everything that I had wanted to. And no one was like teaching gouache or anything, but they gave me the space to explore. And it just, I was around people of such a high caliber. Just my whole class was amazing that it felt, yeah, like heaven. It felt like heaven when I was there. It really did.
So yeah, no. And I'm very familiar with all those schools, by the way. You know, we're very close. We did an interview, did a little art venture with Dan Thompson.
Yes, yeah, of course. I studied with Dan. He's brilliant.
He's a good friend. And I have a quick, it's about you, but I can't help myself. I have also many stories, but his story with RISD and Brown, in fact. But when I was very young, early on in the career of Savoir-Faire, we started by importing and teaching how to paint on fabric, how to paint on silk. It was a new thing. You know, imagine early 80s. And I went to teach at RISD. I mean, teach. I was not a teacher, but I did like lectures and stuff. And I was teaching all the fashion class how to paint on fabric. So I remember that. I was like 22, 23 years old, and I was discovering RISD. That was very special. And then a few years after, I was invited at Brown to give a lecture at the art department. And then after they kind of merged, there is a kind of
you were allowed to take classes from each. Yeah, you could cross-register for classes, yeah.
Okay, so anyway, let's talk about you today. So that's very interesting. It's always fascinating to know how people get to where they are today. So it's so very interesting. Question?
Just because Pierre cannot see what's happening on the screen, I'm going to share with him that it is our good friend Valerie Collymore who was talking about Brown, and then our friend Ruth has joined and Vered has joined. So we have we're moving right along.
Oh my God, very good. But Vered, isn't Vered in Israel these days? It's kind of
she's back now.
Oh, she's back?
Yeah, I was going to say it's not the time to be. Yeah, my friend from Pakistan is like, oh, it's 3 a.m. here. Like, I'm not going to be here. Yeah, the time difference is across the globe. Yeah. Welcome back from Israel. I don't know who you are.
But anyway, so here we go. Let's talk about you, about where you are today. So there's so much to talk about. You know, of course, I'm fascinated about the technique, the supplies. But today there is something I would like to talk to you because as I remember on our short conversation, and your reputation with my friends and all that. Tell me, and your activism and all that. It's. I know you've worked a lot on speaking and sharing, the issue or some challenge with women, and in particular, well, we call it the Me Too movement and so forth. And I've seen a few initiatives that you've made, which are quite remarkable. And I remember those eyes and all those little people. Can you tell us about one of the event or one of your projects that you've done? Because particularly these days, with all what's happened the last few months, including injustice and all that, I think it's a good time to share. Can you share a little bit one of those projects, please?
Yeah, no, I'd love to. I think, yeah, when Andrew visited my studio, I had just wrapped up the I series that I had done, and that was just a series of lover's eyes of my friends. So lover's eyes is basically a historical term, like Victorian Georgian art. They would just paint the eye of their beloved. So you would have like a necklace or a ring or a locket, right, where that would be their eye, and no one would know who it is, because it's really challenging unless you know a person intimately to be able to see or recognize who it is. So there would be this anonymity with it, but also this intimacy. And so I have painted one of my husband's eye, and I love wearing it. But basically, I wanted to do one of all of the female presenting people in my life. So I chose like, what would it look like if I were to paint all of their eyes, do a cut paper, I can show you one of them, but a cut paper border around them inspired by their personalities. So here's one, right? So they're cut paper, and then text, and then a little painting of the eye, right? So these were basically, all the people who I knew, women I knew, right? So trans, cis, non-binary, but all female presenting, and their stories of sexual assault or harassment or pay discrimination. I just wanted to kind of get a feeling of these experiences. And these were all, women I knew and non-binary folks who I know well personally, and could ask them to share these things. But because they are such often really disturbing things, some of them, they also had a cushion of anonymity, because unless you know that person, you're just not going to guess who it is based off of one eye. Right. So that series was very pivotal for me. And it was the first time I included text. I really loved doing that. And so when I was in the 50/50 arts show, where we had to do like 50 pieces in 50 days, and I'm like, oh, I'll just do, I have 50 acquaintances and friends, but I'll reach it out to Instagram, to social media, and have people share what their Me Too experience was, and I'll just include people I don't know. And that was like turned everything on its head for me, because I think when people see the Lover's Eye series I did, where it's 20 pieces, of an eye, and often a very harrowing story, they're upset, because it's upsetting to read, right? They're very beautiful, they draw you in, and then you read it and you're appalled and upset, right? And so, but because I knew these women, because I knew who they were, nothing really upset me about painting it. Nothing upset me about the story, because I knew their complex lives. I knew more about them as people. And so when I did this series, where I just opened it up and I was like, all right, internet, like, share your Me Too stories with me. Send me a photo, send me your story. I'll just paint your photo, I'll do I did little miniatures of them. And yeah, they're tiny. I have those here. But they're like little.
Wait, can you show us? I don't see you live. Are you showing?
Oh yeah, okay. Well, I'm holding it up even though you can't see it, but they're tiny little paintings, about like an inch, and then I just have the typewritten whatever they shared with me. But because they were not people I knew, getting their stories of abuse, was, I was not prepared for that, I guess, like just the psychic weight of that. And so I think I thought, oh, I'll just, it's just an extension of what I've been doing. It won't really, it'll just be offering a platform for other people to share their stories. And I let them say, like, if you want to crop your photo so that maybe you're, we just see the back of your head, or maybe we like only see half of your face, right? I gave them the option of like, whatever you want me to paint of you is what I will paint. And but what happened was incredible, because some of these people, and they weren't all women, by the way, some of these people were, like I stayed in touch with, and I know them now through social media. I follow them. I see that they're living like beautiful, productive lives. But like at first, it was every day I was getting these horrible stories of like child abuse, and it was really bananas.
So let me ask you this. When you say you are not prepared, but you ask for it, you sort of, so you're not prepared that it would be so dramatic, you were not, you didn't realize you would be so upset or so moved by it? What do you mean by you were not prepared?
I mean, okay, so when I said like, hey, we're gonna, like tell me your Me Too stories, internet, like just, hit me up. I was honestly expecting a lot more like, I get whistled at on my walk past, X, Y, or Z when I go to work, or, my coworker who is hired at the same time gets paid the same, gets paid more than me, and like whatever, stuff like that. Like I was expecting more mild stuff to be thrown in the mix. And I think what I got instead was a lot of really intense stories of rape, abuse, like child molestation. And so nothing was kind of diluted, I guess, with some of the more like, yeah, that was inappropriate, but but not traumatizing. I think I got a lot of things that were people's trauma. And so my first introduction to these people was hearing probably one of the worst stories they have about a parent or a relative or an ex, lover, or, and so I was not prepared for that. I think I was not prepared for how intense it was going to be. If that makes sense.
When you ask for something, you always have to be ready. It happens twice. When you look for something, be prepared. So let's move on to the therapeutic aspect of the good. What good? Because you're expressing the drama, the surprise, the horror of reading that. But what, through the art, with what you've done, how has that contributed to a better world, in a sense? Was it good therapeutic for them to tell the story? Was it useful for the other to expose it? How can you explain how good is it for the world to do those kind of things?
I mean, I think it was therapeutic for them, right? So obviously I was looking for volunteers. So no one who was still dealing with their trauma in a way that was very private and personal was going to reach out to me. So I wasn't like pestering people online, like, tell me a bad story. And they're like, no. So I think it was just feeling seen and believed. So often it's not the case that when a woman comes forward, they're often women, saying this happened to me, society will blame her for what has happened to her, or there won't be justice for her, in the legal system. And there's a lot of failings that happen. And so just having someone be like, I see you, I see you so much that I'm going to spend this time recreating an image of you that you shared, that you've chosen with your agency, right? And then sharing verbatim what was, told to me. I think, and to be a part of a collection of 50 paintings, right, where they are not alone. I think it did it did really, like, yeah, some people had written to me and said, I've never told this to anyone before. And so sometimes I was the first person they told. And so it felt like in everything I was doing as though the responsibility was on me to make sure that they felt honored to be part of this. And they felt like, I don't know, like I was giving a piece of myself through painting them, if that makes sense.
No, so I understand. So fantastic. And I saw some of those eyes that you did. Your work is incredible. So thank you for them. Thank you for everybody to do that. And I hope not only it was therapeutic for them, but you feel through your show or through social, I don't know how it was shown in the gallery and so forth, you think it was also an eye opener, not play on word, an eye opener for many to really realizing that, and you think you brought something to the community that's useful, right?
I think so. I think we're going right now through like a national bloodletting of sorts. Like it feels like there are things that have been true about our society for as long as we've had it, and just being able to hold it up and say, look to see what this is a power that artists have. And I think, there's going to be so much artwork made about like a begrudgingly historic time. I wish it were not quite so chaotic and tumultuous, but it is. I think it's really important that we look and that we reflect. And so, yeah, what's on my easel now is a miniature of Amy Cooper, who is the woman who called the cops on the bird watcher in Central Park for just bird watching and asking her to leash her dog. So, yeah, so I'm going to be painting a series of white women who have called the cops on Black people for doing really nothing wrong at all. And I think I'm trying to, say I want to speak to this moment, right? But I am a white lady, and so I want to kind of have my demographic included in what I'm making here, and really asking all of us who are white women, right? There's a lot of my followers are white ladies, and to ask us to look at ourselves more deeply, and yeah.
So that's very good, and in fact, this is part of the exercise of that reunion every week, is how art is helpful for the world, and certainly we talked about therapy, but also about activism, exposure, and art is not only, as some see it, as just aesthetic or just decorative or just cute, beautiful, and all that. It's so profound. It's such a way to express and to do so many things. So thank you for that. It's fantastic. I'd like to move on to another thing, which with all that, can you tell us a little bit how you share your technique and your talents through some teaching? So can you tell us a little bit what kind of teaching you do, and do you teach people to do those eyes, or how, or tell us a little bit about your teaching journey?
Yeah, I taught in New York, and when I moved to California, I taught at Sadie Valeri Atelier for some time. Yeah, I know. She's another RISD alum, and we just talk about that. But but yeah, so I taught there for some time, and then I've also joined College of San Mateo, and I've been teaching there for a couple of years. Yeah, it's great. I mean, I have a lot of strong feelings about the affordability of college, and being able to teach at a really wonderful department, by the way, within a community college that is affordable means the absolute world to me. Noah Buchanan is one of my cohorts in the class, and so he teaches painting, and he's brilliant. And so we've all been forced to do online teaching. I'm not very tech savvy, as I've mentioned to you. So
I don't know. I'm doing a live, and I'm so tech not savvy, that it's kind of, I don't know how even I'm able to be there with you. So yeah, so through that you are teaching online, not tech savvy, but you managed to do it.
I'm doing a lot more. I've like made it a YouTube channel. It's private, but like, you know, I made a YouTube channel and I'm making a lot of demo videos. I learned how to edit movies very roughly. And so yeah, and so I'm zoomed in. It does work out well because like I have my little webcam set up and zoomed in close, and I'm used to working small, so I'm just like making tiny little things. But yeah, so I teach watercolor and water media, so it's watercolor and gouache in one class, and I teach drawing where I teach black and white and color drawing in one class, and it's multiple levels in one grouping. And so yeah, I do share how I work with gouache, and with the caveat that of course how other people work with it is going to be different. Like so many watercolorists that I think you must have talked to, and I know, we've all taught ourselves. Like I didn't have YouTube. Like I taught, like I watched my grandma and I did my own thing, and no one that the only reason I started using gouache was because it was required in a 2D art class at RISD. And I just found my way of working with it that made me happy. And so now that's how I teach it. But of course that's how I work with it. So it's not everyone will, but yeah, so they see videos of me doing it. I do personalized critique videos for my students. So I'm constantly just talking and giving critiques. We use the platform Canvas for teaching, so I'm able to actually like draw on top of their digital submissions with like a stylus. I have a little thing where I can draw on top of it. So honestly, it's working out better than I would have thought, but it's so much more work than it just prep work of making content each week has been keeping me really busy.
So I'd like to, let's pause on gouache. How are we doing on time? I don't have the time.
We've got about 25 minutes left.
So let's pause on gouache because gouache is an interesting story. You know, when I first started in this country, gouache was almost only used for illustration, design, you know, and not so much in a fine art form. And actually gouache was, you know, even the gouache itself were not always necessarily light fast or thing. It was really for design and not fine art. But then recently I've seen an amazing growth. I think gouache is trending a lot. And so it's very interesting. There is even sometimes some watercolor society who didn't accept gouache. They just want transparent watercolor. There was such a divide between watercolor and gouache, which is silly because it's almost the same thing. One transparent, the other one opaque. And it's interesting because gouache was actually more used in France even since the 18th century. And actually the name gouache, I think, is connected with something in Russia or something. But anyway, and it's the transparent gouache or watercolor was developed in England at the end of the 18th century, beginning of 19th. But anyway, it's interesting because in France, the gouache was also, when I was a kid and still today, when you go to go to school, you know, from kindergarten up to high school, you go to school. One of the basic essential, in the same way as your pen or your notebook, is a gouache set, like this exact gouache set. Not exactly because we call it Savoir-Faire. And then when I came here, I didn't see there was either the super gouache, very cheap, like called tempera, that you buy in big jug for the kindergarten and up to middle school. And then you had the super designer gouache, very expensive from England, that was for designer only. And there was nothing quite in between. So that's why we designed and we developed that Savoir-Faire gouache, which was based on the initial kit to learn how to paint. And it's interesting because we sent you some and you're using some and you actually, you said something very nice. So what's your experience with those gouache?
Yeah, I really like using it, and I'm kind of picky, and yeah, I like it better than Holbein, which is hilarious. I think, you know what? I would have loved to have been, you know, a French school child. That sounds perfect. If someone had just given me that right off the bat, I would have been like, thank you. But no, I like the like the opacity of it, I guess. Like Holbein's a little sheerer, and it like so it streaks more, right? And so, you know, I do use the, you know, designer gouache. I use Winsor and Newton is my preferred drug of choice. But yeah, so I was kind of like, oh, you know, this will be fun to try out, and it's really good. Yeah, you're like painting now. Yeah, no, it was
No, but
really nice,
my
and the
thing,
opacity and like
yeah.
viscosity was great.
So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you, but you said I'm painting. It's kind of a habit. I'm not, it's just when I talk about supplies, I'm not an artist really, but I'm artistic in the sense I can't help myself to doodle, to play. So when I talk about something, I like to touch and feel. And it's true, which is interesting because you're comparing gouache, and it's very unusual that I say that. I think no one here, I'm going to say something that I've never said before, because I always promoting and, you know, the highest quality. You know, my famous quote is like, you know, if you want to paint, it's like cooking. If you buy a cheap tomato, you cannot make a good tomato salad. If you buy a beautiful, juicy, organic heirloom, you can make a 3-star chef salad, right? So it's all about the ingredients. So I said that reference from all of my material. But here the gouache, that's the one exception that we were able to make a less expensive gouache than the designer gouache, but just focusing on exactly opacity and the clean, and be able to have a color that can be clean enough you can learn to mix. Because in gouache, it's used a lot for color theory, and even if it's a, you know, entry level, not too expensive gouache, we made sure they had those properties, and it turns out that's one of the very rare time where we are able to produce something that still can compete with the much more expensive. So that's an
Yeah, no, I think you guys did a terrific job. As we're talking, I'm thinking about another brand that I like that I don't think you carry, but Carandash, and I was excited to get their gouache and try it out, and it was you might as well just be using watercolor. It was not opaque at all. I was really crabby with how streaky it was, and so yeah, I feel like I've been burned by other gouache companies in the past, and so,
no, so yeah, we don't carry Carandash, but we are very friendly. We actually, I know very well the family, the Huber family, and we have very close friends, and I have the most admiration, but particularly for their pencils. You know, they have a special way of doing certain kind of color pencil, and they try to extend their brand by doing some other thing like gouache. But yeah, it's true. Their gouache is not at the level of their pencils. You know,
no, I think I love their crayons. I love their oil pastels, and I was excited to try their gouache and was like, oh, absolutely not. Like, this was a waste of my money. But yeah, Steve is saying he has to spend more money in the chat. Yes, Steve, you do. You should try it. See how you like it. He makes miniatures too. He's amazing.
So tell me, why gouache a little bit, and then soon we're gonna have to call the winner, because that you see we are giving some away. So but tell me, outside from the materials, the gouache, why do you love gouache so much? You said the opacity, the fact it's matte. Or what inspires you, and what can you tell?
Okay, we're back. We're back.
Okay, sorry,
Okay.
I lost you for a minute. So you were asking me about why I like gouache?
Yeah, no, no. So, you know, I see the extraordinary work on gouache. So two things. One, if, and I know it's late in the show, but people always love to see. So if you have more artwork to show or to do a stroke or anything, people like the interaction. So that, but my question, and you can do that while you show some things. Why gouache? What do you like so much about gouache? Because it's still among most of the artists we know, gouache is not always used a great deal. So what do you like so much about gouache?
I really like putting down color and having it stay there, right? So I have like, this is one of my oil pastels I did with my husband recently. Oh, but I like layering with color. And so I like having cross hatching with color in any medium. And so whatever medium allows me to put down, yeah, the velvety finish, someone writes, yeah, I love that. Put down color, have it quickly dry, and then be able to make a nut or be a dry medium in general, and then be able to put colors on top of colors on top of colors quickly, right? That makes me really excited because I think having an abundance of colors really does make something look more natural to my eye. And so that's what I'm always telling students, right? I'm like, you gotta layer warm and cool, and you gotta get multiple, like, diversity of colors in there, right? And so anything that allows me to make rapid fire color decisions is great. So gouache I love particularly because I can get really detailed. I love detail. Oil pastel I love because I can get it fast, but I can't get detail, right? Yes.
So
And
next time
I'm seeing you paint, yeah.
you know, next I keep on talking about gouache and you repeat oil pastel. So we'll have to have another session about oil pastel. And I have to tell you something about oil pastel since we're talking about our competition, but our friendly competition, like Carandache. To me, you know, many people talk to me or to our brand Sennelier as the very best oil pastel. You know, we invented it for Picasso, and so we're the first to develop an artist oil pastel. And when people ask me, think we are the only one who make this kind of quality, I recognize that Carandache is one of the very few other ones that I consider the real oil pastel. So someday we'll do a comparison with Sennelier and Carandache because I love both brands.
I have a mixed bag of them. I do have some Sennelier oil pastels. They're softer, right? So I think that the Carandache brand is harder, and so you can get, like, if you were trying to go for a little bit of detail, you could more likely get it. Although I have my little tricks that often involve like my fingernails, but yeah. So I really love gouache because I can do the layering I like doing with dry media, like, you know, color pencils or oil pastels or crayons, you know, or pastels, but I can also get like a really ridiculous amount of detail, which I love doing. And so, and
that's what I would say.
Yeah.
When I see your work, I'm glad you said that because that's what I thought you were going to say. Is gouache you can have a little more control than watercolor, for instance. And as far as layering, it's true. Watercolor, you have to be careful depending on the color you use. When you do layer, it could get muddy if you don't pay attention, and gouache is easier. But for detail work, that's why it was designed originally for designer. Because so for you, it's clear. For detail work, it's the best, right?
Yeah, it's the most versatile. Like, so color pencils, you can also get detailed, but after a certain point, it stops accepting pigment. You can saturate the surface and then be, you know, shoot out a luck. So I love doing, and I like doing tiny things. And there's such a rich history of like Persian miniatures of people using essentially opaque watercolor, or museums, I don't know, they all the time say that it's opaque watercolor. I'm like, you mean gouache, just say gouache.
But in fact, that's funny because that's how we had to, you see, in French, we call it gouache, but in English, we call it opaque watercolor because people didn't understand. They couldn't even pronounce gouache. It was the worst thing when I stopped selling gouache 30 years ago, people couldn't say it. You know, it was just impossible when if you look at the writing. So we started to call it opaque watercolor, which is a nonsense because it's more the other way around. The gouache before the watercolor. So it's more like the watercolor should be called the transparent gouache. But anyway, this
snaps here.
But,
I agree with you.
What do we have time for the
yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Cindy has announced our winner, and it is our friend Glamourousy Cooks, who comes and visits us every week. So congratulations, and send us a DM with your address, and we'll take care of you.
Glamorous, how do you say?
Glamourousy Cooks. I think it is their last name, and they like to cook.
Funny name. Cooks are the last name?
No, Glamourousy is probably their last name, and they enjoy cooking. That would be my guess.
Because I have a similarity, because you all know the last name of Andrew. Andrew is...
Is it? I'm a cook.
Yeah. No, he's a chef. So I try to change your name to Andrew Chef, not Andrew Cook. So congratulations for the winner, and it's fantastic. How much time do we have left?
We've got about 7 minutes left.
7 minutes. Do you have any things more you want to show? People like to see artwork. Can you take your camera and show your studio a little bit? People like to see, you know.
Yeah, so you can kind of see my studio is just this little tiny thing behind me. I work small, so like, ta-da! What else am I gonna do?
I do recall that it was the most organized, cleanest studio I've ever seen in my whole life.
Thank you, Andrew. That means so much. I'm a psychopath. Yeah, no, I really like keeping things clean. Yeah, I really do. But so yeah, I could show you more of the eyes if you want.
Yeah, show me the eyes. You know, we had live. You know, was very key. Natalia did an eye demo live on this one of these Friday a few months ago. That was amazing. So show us your eyes, please.
We're showing one eye here. Yeah, so they were just really fun to paint, right? So I got to design all of the cut paper. I really like having a high degree of control of that. Yeah, and then I got so many of my like dear friends to be part of it, and I think I see some of my friends on the chat here. Yeah, but it was really fun, like getting to design, because I you know, fair enough, like RISD maybe didn't give me my figurative arts education that I was like really hoping for, but I love illustration and design. Like I have that in my heart still. So yeah, I think that series was kind of like a coming together of, yes, coming together of the things that are my strong suits, right? So getting likenesses from portraiture is important to me. Connection with others is really important to me, and like I often will just paint people I know. That's why the 50/50 project was such a departure from that. You know, design stuff is you know what I know and love. So
I have a question about the technique. So those eyes that I try to look at, but I'll look at offline more in precise. I looked at the couple before, but what's your process doing the eye? So do you take the photo of someone's eye? Do you blow it? Or people send them their own photo of their eye, or do you do it live? Do you watch the eye live?
Oh my God, they would never sit still for that long. It takes me like weeks to paint these. No, but I take a photo usually of them myself. I do have a couple of people who had to send me their eye as opposed to me taking it, but and then I blow it up, and I put tracing paper all around the area that I'm not going to be, you know, painting on, so I don't get my like messy little hand on things. And then someone asked in the chat, I don't fix them, so they continue to be extremely delicate works because I like that velvety, like chalky finish of the gouache. I've only done spray finish once for someone, a locket I made for someone of an eye of their, you know, their beloved. So And it really, it like makes all of like the saturation goes up, the darks go darker. Like it's like I'm putting a filter over the painting because gouache doesn't ever get like black black because it's just too matte. So yeah.
So, wow, it's quite remarkable because the size of your eye, I mean, for me, it's mind-boggling to know the details. It looks like you're painting with a microscope almost, you know.
I've used a magnifying glass like 4 times in total with not the eyes, but like if I'm painting I've painted portraits that are like a ½ inch by a ½ inch because I don't know why, but in like lockets and stuff. So yeah, that was the latest series that I did before I just kind of got sucked into the quagmire of online teaching and trying to be good at that was painting portraits for first responders and health frontline workers, basically essential workers, healthcare workers. I got sick in March, and by the time I felt better and was good enough to be in my studio again, all I wanted to do was like give back to people. So yeah, again, I kind of like reached out on social and said, do you know a healthcare worker? I'll just paint your portrait. And so yeah, like one of them had said, oh, like I don't want me, but like, could you paint my grandma? And I was like, okay. And I had a bunch of lockets at home, and I was like, do you want me to put your grandma in a locket? So I'm like corresponding with these like awesome people who are essential workers. And I think that might be after I finished my white women calling the cops on Black people for no reason series, which will be in little compact mirrors. They're going to be very fun and weird. But then I'm going to do, I think I'm going to do more essential worker portraits and maybe do a series where they tell the story that they've been through.
Okay. So if I want my eye from you, I need to become an essential worker. But I thought I was essential supplying materials. So I have to work harder to qualify to get my eye.
Yeah, it's a really high bar. The
forehead. So we're getting rid of time. Did you see? And it's not only for you, because I wear that T-shirt regularly, and it's an old story about a show. I've participated in curating a show about women's show, and that was the theme, and I really enjoy it. And the first time I wore it, it's so funny when I wear it in public. The comments are equally from men or women, but it's true. It's the truth. So the future is female. Voila.
Yes, so, it is. Thank you. I've seen you wear that shirt before, so I know it's not just for me, but I do appreciate it also.
Okay, so on that note, so give us a last word of wisdom, because the trick, they're gonna cut us off in a couple of minutes, and now Andrew taught me how can we do it better to stop before they stop us. So we're gonna close in a couple of minutes, but I want you to give us the last word of wisdom for those difficult time, and how through art we're gonna be in a better world. So tell us.
I mean, artists can make people see things that maybe they wouldn't want to look at because we can make it beautiful. And I think that's what I've been trying to do, is make things that are appealing enough that people want to come and look closely at it, and then they learn something about themselves and the world. And that is our superpower as artists, that we can do. We can make people care about things that they might not have otherwise thought about.
All right, beautiful. Okay, my dear. Thank you for coming to the show, and I can't wait to see you in real, But
yes, thank you for having me here. This is so fun. Thank you, Andrew, who's behind the camera.
Yeah, Andrew, give me
no. I didn't do my hair today.
Oh my God.
Oh, thank you for in the comments. Everyone's been so nice. Okay, but thank you so much. This is so fun.
3, go paint! Woo! Good weekend. Bravo. Thank you.